Hey everybody, it's Lori with the Catch a Pocket Podcast, and tonight we're going to have Mike Coykendall for episode 16. Mike's been had a long and robust career making music in one form or another. For the past over 30 years, he continues to toil away in his new hometown of Portland, Oregon, and I am humbled to be getting a chance to interview him and bring another side of him to our audience. So Mike's been in bands such as, and you might have heard of before, but if you haven't, go check them out, Clyde Connor, which was here in town, and then he had a good stint with the Old Joe Clarks. That was his band that he formed on his own in San Francisco, and then he moved on to Portland, where he played with M. Ward and the likes of Zoe Deschanel. But really, he has just a wonderful sense of what he wants in his art, and he's going to entertain you with his life, and I'm going to throw in some songs in there. I'm going to throw in a song from each band. So stick with me, stick with Mike tonight, listen to his journey through life, and I appreciate y'all for being here. Here we go, Mike Coykendall. I'm with Mike Coykendall. Let's just start with, how are you today? And thanks for coming.
Oh, I'm great. Thank you for having me here.
And I really appreciate you and all you've done. So we're going to start with, where were you born?
I was born at the Harper Hospital in Harper, Kansas.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And then from Harper, your parents lived in Norwich?
We lived on a farm for a couple years outside of Rago, Kansas, and then we moved to Norwich.
So when you were 2 years old or something?
2 years old, something like that.
You don't remember that at all?
I don't remember the move. I don't think I had to carry anything.
Oh, good. They carried you.
Yeah.
So you moved to Norwich, and is that where you went
to grade school, through high school, all the way through, yeah.
All the way through high school.
Mm-hmm.
And
Class of 32 people.
Wow. And what was that like for you?
It was a lot of different things. Mm-hmm. I remember it fondly for the most part. Let's see, so my graduating class was 32, and I think 19 of us had gone to kindergarten together. So, that's like brothers and sisters.
Sure.
And
like an army platoon or something of people know each other all the way.
Mm-hmm. And there was less than 500 people in the town, but the farm community from around there, that's where they went. There were buses and stuff.
There wasn't a manufacturing place or something where they came from. It was mostly farmers.
Farming, yeah, mostly. There was the Fair Corporation, which did, iron and stuff like that, parts and stuff like that.
So there
was a manufacturing thing in Norwich, yeah.
And when you were in high school, is that where you developed your music, your love for music, or were you an artist more? Or
I always loved music. Well, my mom would sing to me when I was a kid, and she would have liked to. Yeah, she sang beautifully, and she whistled wonderfully too. Okay. She would have liked to have been a singer or something like that, I think.
Right.
But she had a lot of interests, but I was her audience, as a baby, and then they realized, at age 2, that I could sing all those songs, but I couldn't necessarily speak.
Oh, wow.
So I could speak some words, but I couldn't put sentences, together that well yet.
Not at that age, yeah.
But I could sing the complete songs.
Cool.
And so they would stand me up at the bank or at the post office or at the grocery store or at the restaurant, and people would say, sing for us, because I was this weird little kid that would and she always said my voice wasn't particularly good, but it was loud.
Okay.
And I would belt it out.
You could project. You weren't afraid to.
I wasn't afraid to project.
Cool.
And then one day, and I kind of remember it. She took me aside and said, "Mike, you don't have to do that if you don't want to." And so from there on, I never did it again.
Oh, really?
But I still liked music and
right.
got into
You
playing
just weren't
drums.
the show of the town.
I really didn't like to be the show of the town, but I was obedient, I guess. So I would do it until she told me I didn't have to, and then I never did it again. So
okay, so so in high school you started kind of playing around with the guitar, or
drums first.
Drums.
Yeah, I got into drums when I was in junior high.
okay.
I was in the marching band and
Wow.
stuff like that in Norwich there, and playing the snare drum and the bass drum and the timpanis and stuff like that. And then my teacher, my music teacher there, Cheryl McLaren, allowed me to take the drum set home over a summertime.
Wow.
And I had 3 8-track tapes that I played to. I played to Band on the Run, Magical Mystery Tour, and T-Rex's The Slider, and I'd found them all in a box of stuff that some renters that had vacated and left behind. One of my dad had this trailer that he rented, and they just left them in a box. I'm like, awesome. I was like, great. So like I played to those over the summer and kind of learned how to play drums.
Rock and roll drums.
Rock and roll drums, yeah.
Okay. And then how did the guitar come in?
Shortly after that, I'd really always kind of wanted to play guitar too. And, there was a woman at the church that gave me some lessons, and then I took some lessons at Ulick Music and
here in Wichita.
Here in Wichita, yeah. My mom would drive. This was maybe when I was a junior in high school, and I took both guitar and drum lessons for a couple years there.
So did your mom come into Wichita a lot, or
once a week?
Once a week, and you would take lessons.
Mm-hmm. And we'd started our own band, at that time.
In Norwich?
In Norwich, yeah.
Okay.
My friend John Rada and Tim Huback and I, which ended up being Clyde Connor, the first incarnation of it, and later on. But this was in probably 1980, 79 or 80, and I'd come up, and how we would do it was like I had a cool teacher, Max Ullum, there that I would bring in a Rolling Stones or Beatles or John Lennon or some kind of song or something, anything on a cassette, and he would figure out kind of a simple version of it for me to play.
Sure.
And I would watch how he picked it out by ear, and
you started learning how to do that.
And then I'd take that back, and we'd learn it, and that would be in our band,
Okay.
And Tim and John were both taking lessons too. John was taking bass lessons, and Tim was taking guitar lessons. I was still playing drums, but then I could teach, from the guitar, I could teach Tim what I'd learned in my lesson that week, and So
it taught you how to kind of teach the others or communicate musically as an artist.
And it also got to show me how to pick things out by ear, on the guitar. So.
Okay, so you guys formed Clyde Connor.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah,
it turned into that.
How long did it take for that to happen?
That was 1984.
Okay.
We moved into a house together where we thought we'd have this great jam space in the basement. And the first, the day after we moved in, we're down there just roaring away, and there's a knock on the front door, and it's Clyde Connor, and he's like, that's awful loud over here. It's like.
That's why you're named Clyde Connor?
That's why the band was named Clyde Connor, yeah.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. That's awesome. So the guy named Clyde Connor who was telling you guys to keep it down got the namesake.
Sure did.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, so was that was in Norwich?
That was in Wichita.
Wichita.
3156 South Fern Street.
Whoa, that's South Wichita. Wowee. Mm-hmm. So you started out in Wichita on the south side, and then did you go to WSU at all, or attend any?
Out of high school, I went to Dodge City Community College, and so Tim and John and I didn't play for a few years. We had our high school band, and then a couple years break, and then we moved into that house and started the band. That's when it became Clyde Connor.
Oh, okay.
I got a 4-track cassette recorder, and we started making our own songs and recording them.
That's cool. So, and when you went to Dodge City Community College is where you met Dave and Stoney?
Yeah, who were at my show last night.
Right.
It's the first time I'd seen Stoney since '85, and Dave and I have stayed in a little better touch.
Right.
So that was a trip. Yeah,
that is a hoot.
Yeah, we really went for it out there, as best we could.
So, are there? I mean, are there any things from them that you took? They didn't come with you to Wichita?
They did not. No, we kind of went on our own separate ways. Stoney.
What was that band name?
The band name that we did in Dodge City, the first year we were called Chic.
Chic. Okay.
And then the next year we were called The Kids.
Okay. And you went to school and played music and then played your own versions of rock.
Yeah, we were doing covers mostly, and we had like 3 or 4 originals, which is
That's where you kind of got started on
barely, yeah,
learning originals.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you came to Wichita, started Clyde Connor in the first version and South Wichita type deal, and then from there, how did that transition into the second version of Clyde Connor?
Right. So we made we'd been recording stuff for. I was recording us on, and Tim got into recording us too, but on the cassette 4-track, and I remember I was listening to After Midnight one night on KMUW, and they were saying they said, hey, if you're a local band and you got some original material, send it in to us, and I was like,
oh,
ding,
wow.
ding, ding, let's do that.
Yeah.
And so I made a mix of like 6 of our songs or something like that onto a cassette, and I sent it. And I think we took it by and dropped it by with the receptionist or something like that, and then we called to see if they liked it, and nobody seemed to know anything about it.
Okay.
We'll look for it. I don't know.
Yeah.
And a couple months passed, and we just kind of forgot about it. And I was going to move to Denver. I'd moved back out. We'd given up the house, and I'd moved back out. I was living with my parents and working, and I was going to move to Denver when I got a call from John that he'd gotten this call from somebody at the radio station named Charlie Maxton, and that they liked the cassette, and they'd been playing it, and they wanted us to play their fundraiser bash, which was called I think it was just called the Bash, After Midnight Bash, and this is the second year of it, I guess.
Where was that?
That was on campus in the
WSU.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so immediately I forgot about moving to Denver, and it was like I remember tuning in on KMUW and hearing one of our songs come over the air, and it was like, wow,
that's me.
This is amazing. So I
I'm
completely
famous.
forgot about moving to Denver, and we just started practicing again, and it was Tim and John and I, and by that point I'd wanted to not be on drums, so we got Cameron Gorley, and then John was going through some stuff at the time and kind of was not making it to practices and stuff like that, so it just became Tim and Cameron and I, and we played the Bash and a few more things. And then Tim's life was like he worked. He's really high up at Quick Trip now, and he had a child, and
is he still there now?
He's still there now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so he had to do that, and then we got this guy Steve Cox for a while. That wasn't too long, and then we got Ron.
And
then
and I still see Ron around.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's a cool guy, and that was such a neat band. And I mean, we still listen to it all the time here, and I think a lot of people do because it was just neat. What kind of genre would you call that? Like rock, but it's alternative, kind of.
Yeah, I think in the beginning I wanted to call it psychedelic folk.
Okay, yeah.
But then it got a little edgier and a little heavier, so I don't know.
Yeah.
It was poppy though too,
Yeah,
so
it had real catchy, danceable tunes,
Cool, yeah.
Okay, so Clyde Connor really took off. I think you guys played a lot around Wichita and had a good following at first.
At different times.
Yeah, at first.
At first we did. And then at the end we did.
Right, and there was a middle section.
There was a middle section, yes.
Were you people on strike for you or something? Or
Well, it's a small town, and I remember, like, it was so exciting because we played that Bash, and then our next gig was at Woody's Back Door, we played there a couple times, and people seemed to be excited about us, and I was just on cloud nine, and I thought it was, wow, this is amazing. We're playing original music in Wichita, and I didn't even know that was, I mean, I knew it was possible. I guess I didn't know it was possible for me. And so we were doing good, and then I remember Bud Norman would mention us and things and give us a little plug in the music section, and then he wrote he came to a Kirby's show that we played and wrote a nice article about us that was kind of too nice.
Yeah.
You know, and raved us up a little bit too much, maybe. And maybe it went to my head. I don't know. Probably did a little bit at the time, but it also created like a lot of jealousy.
Uh-huh.
And
that went into Wichita Eagle.
Yeah.
So everybody read it.
Yeah, and I thought it was great, but he called. I think the quote was, "They're the best band in Wichita, best band in Kansas. No one else even comes close." And I was like, "Wow, amazing!"
Yeah.
No, not amazing. Like, 'cause I had older friends, it's like that's a bit much, and like that's a bit much.
What
and
about
I'm
our
like,
band?
Really?
That kind of thing.
A little bit. Yeah. And because we weren't, I like to think we were a good band, but who's to say who's the best band in Kansas?
Yeah. To Bud Norman.
At that time,
you guys were.
For him, yeah, sure. Yeah. So that's nice. But,
Bud's a great guy.
But then, and then there was this little magazine called The Gopher Purge, not more than a year later or something like that did a readers poll or something like that. It was probably like 10 people that voted. But,
yeah.
We were voted worst live band.
Oh, okay. So that gave you your edge back.
Yeah.
That's awful.
And like literally, like there were 3 people at our shows sometimes.
Really?
For a period of time.
Yeah.
And then
people started, and like a different group of people heard you and liked what you were doing.
Right.
And it really kind of took off from there at the end, because I know you had quite a large following. Clyde Connor.
We were doing good at the end. Yeah. For the last year or two. Yeah.
What's that album name that was that was really popular?
Hypnopotamus?
Hypnopotamus, yeah.
That was our double record.
Yeah, that was a good album. That's an awesome album. So from there, is that where you guys kind of split up and decided to go your separate ways? Okay, I'm going to cut in right here and say, from the Hypnopotamus album, this is Frightening Creatures. Check it out.
Sitting by the road, what do I do with my time but wait? I don't have the right education, so what do I do with my time but wait? Frightening creatures coming up out of a t-shirt. What do you want me to be? Freaks, blue white collars, dancing like a beef. You shouldn't have bothered. Freaks, blue white collars, dancing like a beef. You shouldn't have hollered. So what do I do with my life except wait to die? All the husbands and wives, they said wait to die. Frightening creatures coming up out of a t-shirt. What do you want me to be? Freaks, blue white collars, dancing like a beef. Shouldn't have bothered. Freaks, blue white collars, dancing like a beef. Shouldn't have hollered. Unemployment checks. Shut down unemployment checks. Gave them to the trash man who works beside the garbage man. Gave them to the policeman. What did he do? He cashed them. Frightening creatures turning up backs on the teachers. What do you want me to be? Freaks, blow my corners, dancing like a beef. Beef, shouldn't have bothered, shouldn't have bothered. Freaks, blow my collars, dancing like a beef. Beef, shouldn't have bothered, shouldn't have bothered.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I had gotten married a year before that, and I also knew I worked at Mid-Kansas Federal Savings and Loan, and all those savings and loans were going out of business. So the writing was on the wall for like a year and a half that it was going to end, you know, and we were told we were going to get a little bit of severance pay. I think it ended up being like $2,000. I'd worked there like 7 years, but that was a lot.
Yeah.
And I was going to be able to collect unemployment, and you know, with my new wife, and I was like, Jill, and we kind of like, let's go have an adventure. Let's go somewhere. Let's go live somewhere for a year. Let's give it a year.
Right. And how old were you then?
27.
Okay.
Maybe.
Perfect time to start anew.
And yeah, and I felt like Clyde Connor was on a good high note, but we probably weren't going to be able to go tour, you know, and do all the stuff that it would take to go to the next level, you know.
Right.
So we all had jobs, and maybe we could have. I was just too conservative or whatever, and maybe I just wanted to leave town for a while.
Sure.
So we thought we'd give San Francisco a try and give it a year, and then we
It's
were
a big
there.
difference.
We've been on the West Coast since. You know?
Right.
Yeah. So.
It's really cool. And so from when you went to San Francisco and made that move, and you had, you know, the means to do so, and then you and Jill moved to San Francisco, and what was that like, just starting out, and how did you find where you went to with the old Joe Clarks?
It took a while. I mean, I was motivated, and I hit the ground. Steve Bell lived out there already.
Okay, so you knew someone out there.
I knew one person, and so he and I started playing a little bit. We'd rent, like, by the hour this rehearsal studio, you know, which was new to me, to like roll it into this place where there's like 50 bands rehearsing in all these little rooms, and you know, you pull your car up there, and then there's this little flatbed dolly thing that you put your gear on and roll it up the hall and put it in there, and you pay your 3 hour rehearsal, and you set up all your gear, and you go, and then you would load it back out, and then you load it back to your house. It was a lot of work, you know.
Yeah.
And so we did that, and I met a friend, Matt Granz, through just, you know, the old ways where you just tack up a hey, bass player looking for a band, you know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then there was also Bay Area Musician Magazine,
And
I
that's
looked
how
through
you
those
found?
ads, and I just found strangers, and you know, that eventually turned into the old Joe Clarks. Got Jill talked into learning how to play bass, and
She played bass for you guys, and you guys had great harmonies together and things like that.
she didn't sing.
She didn't sing?
No, but there was a woman, Denise Bongiovanni, that sang,
Okay.
and
I always thought that might have been her that
Right.
sang with you because, you know.
right. No, Jill doesn't want to sing.
Okay.
But I mean, maybe she wants to, but and then it turned into that. You know, it went through a few different incarnations, and then it turned into Jill, myself, and Kurt Stevenson, and that was the band that made the first old Joe Clarks record. And then we added 3 more players by the next one, so we went from a 3-piece to a 6-piece.
It was a pretty big hit then, the first album.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was really surprised. Yeah,
It took off really well there, which it
nationwide,
makes,
actually.
Nationwide, yeah. Because of exposure from there, it's a popular place, and people are listening to that area and kind of talking about it and things, and it became a really large hit for you guys.
Right, and the No Depression thing was coming on at that time, and I didn't even know what Americana was, but we were all of a sudden called Americana.
Okay.
And that's how I learned what Americana was. I just thought we were like kind of a country band.
Folk
you
country
know?
band
yeah,
type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of an oddball country band, and but then we got lumped into the Americana scene, and that was fine because it gave us a genre,
Right,
you know?
something to say we are.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you toured around on that for that
little
first
bit.
album, or just
Now,
kind of on the coast
we
there?
did try, but I was still working full time as Jill was working and Kurt was working, and San Francisco is incredibly expensive. And again, I was
Definitely.
a little bit kind of conservative. I didn't want to just tell everybody, let's quit our jobs for this, because it wasn't paying that well.
Right.
Even though we were getting some, I probably should have. And Kurt didn't really want to tour, and I was scared, and Jill was scared too. So we just kept working and playing as much as we could. And I'd get 2 weeks of vacation a year, and we'd use one of it to record a record, and the other one we'd try to get everybody to go tour and maybe go play South by Southwest and stuff like that.
Like go down to Texas and that.
Yeah.
All right. So then you, on the second album, added 3 players just to kind of fill out that sound that you're looking for.
I guess so.
Yeah.
And plus we'd met some other players
Cool
that were real
people.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just kind of upped your game a little. How many albums did you guys do?
We did 3.
Okay. And then from there, after were there any experiences recording those albums that caused you to say it's time to move on from there, or?
I think it was like there was no way we were going to tour. Mm-hmm. Coming out of San Francisco, it was just too expensive to pay your bills and go out and,
Right.
break even.
Sure.
We didn't. And Jill and I were maybe getting a little tired of San Francisco at that point, and
Okay.
it was time to move. So we moved to Portland and
Okay.
tried to keep the band going for a while. We actually made the 3rd record, like going back and forth from San Francisco to Portland.
And how far is that?
10 hours, 10 hard hours.
Wow, yeah, that's hard hours.
Yeah.
From the old Joe Clark album, November, this is The Bright Side.
Business feet on the concrete, gray. So what's the color today? More black and white. I might cash out, but I won't cash in. I'm living under my skin. Gotta sleep there tonight. This is our last day. We're gonna make it okay. Your way and mine. We rode to the moonlight on. Leave it here when we're gone. On to the bright side. Oh, hiccup tied to the same old thing, same old clamoring ding. 15 behind. Feel alright, but I look like hell. I guess you never can tell, and I hope they don't mind. This is our last curse. We're playing on for the worst. Battered and fried. We rode to the moonlight on. Leave it here when we're gone. On to the bright side. We rode to the moonlight on. Leave it here when we're gone. On to the bright side.
All right, man. So we're in Portland now. So you and Jill moved to Portland. You were done with the scene, and kind of wanted to sprout your wings in a different place, or you heard good things about Portland, or
It was, I honestly felt like I was putting myself out to pasture just a little bit. but going to a place that still had some music going on. It was kind of like halfway between San Francisco and Wichita. You know, it's like staying on the West Coast though, which I'd kind of grown
kind of
fond
smaller
of.
town type deal.
It was a pretty, you know, it had a good music scene, but it was like cheap and kind of both pretty and ugly at the same time, you know.
Yeah,
like, yeah.
It has that grunge factor of it.
It was a little
Right.
shabby,
Yeah.
but yeah, it kind of felt like halfway, and a good place to just kind of like go, you know, and I. You know,
Did you have
wanted to-
jobs there already
we got
lined
'em.
up? Yeah.
No, but I got to work on that and was able to set up a home studio for the first time ever, which was cool.
Cool. And that's kind of where, I mean, you kind of got the idea of having your own recording in San Francisco, but then kind of followed through on it when you got to Portland.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much.
And
yeah.
did you meet someone who kind of taught you about it, or
No,
were
I've
you
been
just
learning
watching
since
all that?
the early Clyde Connor days.
Right.
You know, one little piece at a time, and I was just reading
Yeah.
on it, and you know, just
I noticed like on your website when you talk about the thing, you talk about every piece of equipment that you use and every single piece, and it in a way it reminds me of when artists talk about their art and how they created this oil on canvas with this and that, you know, brushes and technique and stuff like that, and it's
Yeah.
kind of in the same, in your mind you kind of hold it in the same way.
well, yes and no. I was perfectly happy with much less gear, but when you have a studio that you're charging people money for, they want to be able to look and see what you have.
Oh, okay.
You know,
So
so it's a
they
little
can
bit
choose
more
and-
like
like
yeah,
a
it's
menu.
It's like a menu.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, he's got one of those microphones.
I'm
Oh, he's got
looking-
that
I'm looking to
compressor or
record
whatever.
this with
yeah.
that and-
yeah. So
okay.
like, you know, you want to show them what's at their fingertips, you know, for using when they come to the studio. And so it's
Right.
more about, you know, just showing people what I have. But I'm perfectly happy with much less. But
Like a microphone and a
yeah.
you know, a pedal, and
I did so
yeah.
much with so little, you know, or not, I shouldn't say I did so much, but I was perfectly fine with quite a bit less. But,
Okay.
but it's been fun to have the fancier stuff too.
Right. And so when you went to Portland, you fell in with some more famous, I feel like, people in general. And how did that happen?
Yeah, it really kind of took off. Well, M. Ward was getting started. He was put out his first record, and we had a mutual friend in San Francisco that he'd gone to college with, and so Carlos Forster. And when he was heard that Jill and I were moving up to Portland, he says, "Oh, Matt just moved there 3 months ago. Remember the guy I played you the cassette? You know?" It was like my friend. I was like, "Oh yeah, that was good stuff." He was like, "You should give him a call when you get there." So after about a week, I called him and we hang out a little bit and
You had something,
got to
some
know each
common
other.
bond.
Yeah.
Yeah. Played some music together.
Played
and-
some music. Eventually did some recording for his third record, and that one did well. He got picked up by a bigger label for that one, and then we did his next one after that, and then
And were you recording in your own home studio or?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Cool. So that did really well from your studio, and that kind of gave you a name.
yeah.
Okay. And from there, you started getting more opportunity for
Yeah.
different things.
Right.
Okay. And talk a little bit about those things, like what kind of things did you do at that point, touring wise, and just in general, technically meeting people and,
Right.
you know.
Well, by 2005 or so, the company that I was working for, still full time, had gone out of business, and Matt was out touring a lot, and so I was working part time and doing a lot of recording for people. So I just told him that, hey, you know, at this point, like he'd asked me to go tour with him like a couple 3 years earlier,
Yeah.
but I couldn't, you know, because I was I'm working full time, I can't do it. And by that point, I was like, no, I could do it now if you ever want it. And so the next time he went out and toured, he took me, and
Yeah.
it was a blast, you know. So we went all
And
over
that's
Europe.
M. Ward, and then he got with Zoe Deschanel, and that she's huge now, and
We did her first record. Yeah.
and that's where the hippie girl is.
Well, she sang, like, a couple years later. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd recorded that, and her and Ben had gotten together and were
Okay.
dating. They weren't married yet, but they were both in Portland, and they'd offered to hey, we'll play or sing on your record. And I was like, I got this
Really?
one song, so like, come over.
And
so
they
Yeah,
both
they-
played and sang on that. Ben Harper,
they sang
is it?
on Ben Gibbard
Okay.
from Death Cab
For Cutie.
Cutie, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So
Yeah, I think one of them came to town just a minute ago with another band, with the guy from Everclear, Alex. I can't remember his name, but yeah, anyway.
yeah, small world.
Yeah, it is. It is. So is there, from here to there, is there a story of inspiration that you could share with us, and something that maybe could, I don't know, inspire someone that might be on the fringe of, I want to give up, to never giving up, like that
Well,
sort of thing.
Let's put it this way. I haven't ever stopped. But when I moved to Portland, I thought that I was kind of like things were going to slow down, and I was kind of like, all right, I'm in my late 30s now, and, we've had some good breaks here and there, but it never really kind of turned into something that I could pay the bills with, and so like, let's just go somewhere and slow down, and then it took off,
Okay,
so it's
yeah.
odd, like, don't think, that it's your dream is over, whatever. Anything can happen. Like, the harder you work at it, the worse things can go sometimes.
Right.
But also odd things can happen that make it a little easier at other times when you don't expect it. So,
Sure.
and I guess I would just say, have fun with it and do it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I'm not particularly successful, because I don't think I've ever been very calculating. I certainly try
Like
to promote the
driven,
shows.
that
Like,
kind
I'm
of
not, I don't change, like, I don't get less weird just for, like, oh, this is going to be too weird for everybody.
Right.
It's like, I'm not saying everybody has to be like that, but, like, I don't regret that,
Right.
even though, I've never had a hit, but,
But sort of. I mean, and not like maybe pop radio
Yeah,
hit,
that's what
but
I'm talking.
yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely I believe you have some just wonderful songs that are beyond anything you could listen to on the radio, which is even cooler, I
Thank
think.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I got a lot of good friends that have
Yeah.
helped me, and had a lot of good times.
So what's going on with you now? Like
And
musically?
Musically, I'm going to go on a tour in August with a couple guys playing drums in California.
Oh, okay. So you never quit playing drums? you
Never
just-
quit playing drums. I've been playing a little bit more, actually, the last 4 years or so. And I always played on people's recordings if they wanted it. And I'm doing a lot of recording still out in Portland, and
Do you still use the kit?
the rig.
Yeah, the rig.
The
is that what it
yeah.
is?
Yeah. I still do. Yeah. Which is
I like that type of thing. One of my favorite artists is Shaky Graves, and he uses a rig type, suitcase, and I just think, how do you guys even? I can hardly play a guitar, so how do you keep a drum beat, several beats, and
keep it simple at first.
Is that, man, that's difficult. My brain would explode, I think, if I had to try to do that in front of people. I'd just melt down, probably.
You get better at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You notice the more you play out the type of technique and how it changes from, okay, you're recording a song, it's going to be one way, but when you go and try to play it live, you can't do
Right.
all
that
those.
happens. That
Yeah.
does happen. Yeah.
And just experience is half of the battle.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just keep walking, and slowly you can walk straighter.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do you have a large following out there in Portland now? Do you have a
No.
group?
I mean,
here?
no, I do. I can't say I don't, but like I play so much out there that it's hard to say whether people will show up or not. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. It's like, and I can only promote it and stuff. So, and there's a lot of bands out there and lots of places to play, and a lot of competition, but it's fine. I'm very fortunate. I get gigs if I want them, and
the weather's temperate.
The weather's pretty temperate.
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot more than here, I must say.
Yes.
And so, how's your family take you living so far away? Like, is it, do they come visit you, or do you always have to come back to visit? And
I usually come back here.
Yeah.
But my mom and dad did come out and visit once, and my mom's been there one time since my dad passed away. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
Cool. Well, we're glad to have you, and I'll be happy to play any of your songs before and after in the middle of this.
Cool.
And kind of promote you. And
thank you.
Did you have any other things to say to the audience?
I love Wichita.
All right. Well, we love you too, Mike, and I appreciate you coming on the Catch a Pocket podcast.
I loved it.
All right, man. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, and just because I'm a sucker for some really good music, on the Unbearable Being of Likeness album, I'm going to play Space Baker Blues. Here it is.
I guess stoned every night, just trying to get it right. Space baker looking for a light. You can wear your heart on your sleeve and try to disbelieve. If I could, I think I'd try. Sit back and I stare at the screen. Ride a dream machine down where the holy waters flow. Cold craters wait on the moon to get me there soon. I don't wanna feel this way no more.
All right, Catch a Pocket was brought to you by me, Lori Burris, and I thank you all for listening. I thank Mike Coykendall for coming. He is a wonderfully talented artist, and he's out there in Portland. I'm going to leave his sites up on the notes underneath the podcast, and you can click on the links and find him on Facebook and Instagram. He has a website with his studio. You can see a little bit about his studio, read all about him. He's fascinating, and he's just, I thank him so much for coming. He's made the show better by being here and seeing another part of Wichita that's in Portland now, that's doing their art thing, the grind, and loving every minute of it. And I'm sure he'd be happy to say hi to you if you say you're from Wichita when you get down there and see him in the show. So, thanks for listening. Catch us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Podbean app. And thanks, Kirk, for the music. And thanks, Lisa, for letting me use it. See you guys next time. Hope you catch a pocket you can be proud of.